30, verses 18 to 34. So, Pushti Mataji, whenever you're ready, Jyoti Mataji will be sharing the screen. So, after that, you can say invocation 3 times, please.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Jyoti Mataji, you're sharing. Mataji, just we are giving 1 minute. Jyoti Mataji is sharing the screen.
Sure, Mataji.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Jyoti Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you. Pushti Mataji, you can start with 3 invocations. Thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 3, Chapter 30, verse 18. Evam kutumba bharane व्यापृतात्मा जितेन्द्रियः म्रियते रुदन्ता स्वानाम् ऊरु वेदनयास्तदिः.
Hare Krishna. Thus the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief. Seeing his relatives crying, he dies most pathetically in great pain and without consciousness.
Text 19. Yamaduto tada praptau bhimo sarabhase sadruštva trastridayam shakran mutram vimuchyati.
At that, he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him, their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear he passes stool and urine.
Text 20. Yatnadeha avrutya parshe bardhva gale balat nayato dirdhamam dvanam dandyam raja bhatayatha.
As a criminal, he is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state. A person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamdutas, who bind him by the neck with strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment.
Text 21. Tayor nirbhinardayast tas jarner jartar vave pathuhu pathishvabhir bhakshana bhakshaman adurtyam swamanu smaran.
While carried by the constables of Yamraja, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is beaten by dogs, and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed.
Text 22. Shutat parito kardadavan lanilai santapyamana pathitaptavaluke kruchena prushte kashaye taditash chalakya shokti kapinirashromadoke.
Under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through roads of hot sand with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by the constables because of his inability to walk. And he is afflicted by hunger and thirst. But unfortunately, there is no drinking water, no shelter, and no place for rest on the road.
Text 23. Tatra tatra patachantrau murchita puniruttitah patha papi yasa niras tatarasayam sadanam.
While passing on that road to the abode of Yamraja, he falls down in fatigue, and sometimes he becomes unconscious. But he is forced to rise again. In this way, he is very quickly brought to the presence of Yamraja.
Text 24. Yojananam sahasrani navatim navachadvanah त्रिभिर्मुहूर्तेर्द्वाभ्यां वा नीतः प्राप्नोति यातनाः.
Thus he has to pass 99,000 yojanas within 2 or 3 moments, and then he is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which he is destined to suffer.
Verse 25. आदीपनं स्वागात्राणां वेष्टयित्वो मुल्कादिभिः आत्मा मा साधना क्वापि स्वकृतं परितोऽपि वा.
He is placed in the midst of burning pieces of wood, and his limbs are set on fire. In some cases, he is made to eat his own flesh, or even have it eaten by others.
Verse 26. जीवताश्वान्ताभयुद्धार श्रुगर्धैर्यमसादने सर्पभुषिकं दशार्धैर्दशदाभिवासात्मवैशसम्.
His entrails are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of hell, even though he is still alive to see it, and he is subjected to torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him.
Verse 27. Grintanam chavavaishvasyosoho gajadibhyo vipanam patenam girishrungebhyo rodhanam chambu kartayoha.
Next, his limbs are lopped off and torn asunder by elephants. He is hurled down from hilltops, and he is also held captive either in water or in a cave.
Verse 28. Yastra mistran tata mistra roravadhyascha yatanaha bhukte naro va nari va mitah sangena nirmitaha.
Men and women whose lives were built upon indulgence in illicit sex are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hells known as Tamisra, Andhatamisra, and Rava.
Verse 29. Atraiva narakah swarga iti matah prachakshate yayatna vaya narakyatsa ihapyupalakshitaha.
Lord Kapila continued, "My dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet too."
Text 30. Evam kutumba bibrana udarambara eva va dusrijeho bhayam pretya bhukte tataphalamidrusham.
After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers hellish life, and his relatives suffer too.
Text 31. Ekah prapadye dhyavantam hitvedam swakalevaram kushaletar patheyo bhutra drohena yadbhutam.
He goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world.
Text 32. Devena saditam tasya shamalam niraye puman bhukte kutumba posasya ruda vitta ivaturaha.
Thus, by the arrangements of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kingsmen is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost his wealth.
Text 33. Kevalena hayadharmena kutumba bharanotsukaha yati jivondhita mistram charamam tamasa padam.
Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods, certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as under the Misra.
Text 34. अधरास्तन्नरलोकस्य यावितीर्यातनादयः क्रमशः समनुक्रम्य पुनरत्राव्रजे शुचिः.
Having gone through all the miserable, hellish conditions, and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for opportunity.
Hare Krishna. Please
Thank you,
forgive
Pushti.
for mispronunciation.
No,
Hare
thank you,
Krishna.
Pushti Mataji, and thank you, Shobna Mataji, for the very nice recitation. And can I please request Shiji Mataji that if we can chant Hare Krishna 3 times for Usha Mataji's sister who has passed away a while ago, and also for Vanita Mataji's sister who passed away today. So if we can, so if we all can, Mataji, please, as we all are on the call. So it will be good if we can chant, Mataji. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. So sorry to hear the sad news for both our devotees. Yeah, dear devotees, let's just unmute and say if that's okay with Madan Prabhuji, if we can all unmute and say three Hare Krishna Mahamantras, please. Are we ready?
Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. And very sorry to hear about the passing away of these departed souls. So may their souls transition to the lotus feet of Lord Narayan. Thank you so much, Pushti Mataji and Shobana Mataji, for your wonderful recitation. So let's do the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Let's spend a minute of silence, praying for the departed souls. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining the chat class. So today we are going to be doing chapter 3, and verses are going to be the last 3 verses of this chapter, which is 32 to 34. So we read through, we heard the translation of the previous verses. So I wanted to ask a question. How did you feel when you were listening to these verses? What was all the
Worried.
thoughts in your mind?
Worried.
Worried? Yes, absolutely. What were the feelings that was coming to your mind?
Don't want to experience that.
Definitely don't want to experience that. Yes, absolutely. And when you hear this, I mean, when you see this, when you hear this description so vividly, one would want to think about why are we, like acting the way that we are. I mean, and who would like to be in this path? And as I was reflecting through this particular chapter, I don't know if you remember, there is also the description of the kingdom of God, which comes in this canto. Indileka Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna dear devotees, please connect my humble obeisances over to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I didn't listen to these verses, but I can recall what they are. But then I would try to do whatever I can to avoid going there.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. And I think it's just a reminder of the activities that we are doing. And if you were to look at the description of the kingdom of God, which is in chapter 15, and when you see all the spiritual like entities like just doing nothing but serving Srimati Radharani and Krishna, there is so much of joy when you read those verses, and there is so much of bliss that you experience. And I would really invite you to read chapter 15 after this, because it's a good antidote to this particular chapter. This chapter is also very important, and it's description of Lord Kapila of adverse fruitive activities. So when you look at adverse fruitive activities, it's really referring to those who are committing sinful activities. And definitely the the initial many verses, and we will quickly do a recap, because we come just it's good to do a recap before you come to the last 3 verses, and you can see how the mood changes. And I will not tell you how the mood changes, but we will see when we come to those verses. So let's actually do a quick recap of this particular chapter. So Lord Kapila begins right at the start, and he links this to an analogy, which is a mass of clouds. So he says that as a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person who is engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. So you can see that there is a constant reference to Kal or time, which is what in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he is Kal. So as Kal, he is the ultimate destroyer, and we can see that there are rainforests in Africa that has turned into the Sahara over millions and millions of years, and then there is no habitation there. So you can see, and then you can see, like the shores being, pushed, the cliffs are, being, like weathered by the incessant, like waves that are coming. Again, it's a matter of time. So you can see that at a celestial level, at a Bhudevi level, you can actually see how time has got such a devastating impact because it really destroys everything. And when we think of that, the question that we need to ask ourselves is why do we lead our lives in a way that makes us feel as if we're going to be here forever? So that's what like Lord Kapila says. He says that people who are pure materialists, what they do is they really believe that they're going to be here forever, and all their endeavors, all their work, all the way they lead their lives are all contributing towards that. So so he says that whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor, he's trying to do this to get some temporary happiness, but that happiness is just not going to stay with him. And this comes from a complete lack of knowledge about and here's where Lord Kapila talks about the materialists being misguided. So when you lack the knowledge, when you lack the spiritual knowledge to really understand who you are, and then you find that you're attracted by the concept of home, you're attracted by the concept of land, you're attracted by the concept of wealth. So these are things which really matter to you, and then you spend your entire lifetime like doing this endeavors to really do it. But is that really where you want to focus your energies on? And then you're never satisfied at all. And what happens is, as I quickly go through, is that such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep rooted attraction. And I'm going to say this because all of us have this attraction for the body, for the wife, or the partner, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. So reflect upon yourself and think about how much time do you really spend in in catering to these attractions, because you're actually serving them. So we all serve in some way or the other. So whom are we serving? We are serving our body. Like in terms of trying to look very beautiful, trying to spend all the time in the gym and those kind of things. And nothing wrong about staying healthy. Anything excessive may not be right. Partners, this entire this entire cultural aspect about like romantic love, about finding your partner. There is so much of time that we spend like not only ourselves, but when we do it for our children, there's so much of energy and that we really spend on that. Home, we all try to build a home, and then once we have a small home, then we want to like build a bigger home, and then even a bigger home, and so on and so forth. So there is really never an end to it. And then children, uh, we love to hear the sweet voice of our children. We love them when they are young. We take good care of them all the time, and we want to do everything that we want for the kids, like leave something behind, leave a legacy behind. I want to leave like a business to my kids. I want to leave my bank balance to my kids. So can you see everyone is, I mean, they're all caught up in this attraction, and that attraction is doesn't come necessarily with without happiness, because there is a lot of anxiety, because even if you're the richest businessman, you can find that there'll be some ups and downs, and there is going to be a lot of anxiety that gets created. So as Lord Kapila is describing the path of the materialist, you can see that there are many things that resonate a lot with how we lead lives. And then he also like goes on to talking about what are some of the ill effects of that. And we've seen, it in very graphic descriptions. The unfortunate man unsuccessful in meeting his family members is bereft all beauty. So if you're not taking care of your kids, if you're not taking care of your children, then you don't get the respect you need, and then you end up actually being protected by someone whom you are protecting now. So you can see that the roles completely reverse, and that's what Kapila's talking through this journey as he describes the materialist. And then towards the end, then he there are some very graphic description of what happens when you're coming close towards towards your death, and then you have disease, and then there are some some very physical reactions that happens out of that, and you produce a sound like a gura gura, which is a rattling within the throat. So and you may have seen that there are those who may have not gone who may be coming close to the stage when they are going to pass away, and you can really see some of this, you can hear some of this. And you're trying to you are trying to connect and speak to your relatives who are mourning for you, but you can't really do that much. And then when you see the Yamaduta coming in, you're petrified, and you act in the most you know um, uh, terrified manner. And then there are also descriptors of how Yamaduta really really punishes those who have been leading very sinful activities, adverse fruitive reactions. And all of this is happening, and then towards the end, what Lord Kapila says, that my dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet too. So you can actually see that a lot of this really is we don't have to really die. I mean, we do experience this in our day-to-day as well. Sometimes we go to prison for like wrong acts that we have done. We could have capital punishment, so you really are experiencing, or it can be torture of a very different kind. It can be mental anguish. So we are experiencing a lot of that hell here itself. So the purpose is, as you all mentioned, if there's so much of worry that's going on, why are we really doing all this? And then where we leave off in text 31 is that he goes alone. So this particular materialist who's performing adverse fruitive activities, he goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body. And the money he acquires by envying other living entities, like during his lifetime, is the passage money with which he leaves this world. So quite a sad way by which you leave. And once we understand that this is really not where we want to be, so then the question is, what is it that we should be doing? And that's what the next three verses are going to be all about, that we are going to unpack. Now, before we go to the verses, there is also the aspect of the rungs of karma yoga leading on to bhakti yoga that will be worth having a look at. So do we know what are the various rungs of karma yoga? So at the bottom of the rung is karma kanda. And karma kanda is where you are performing your fruitive activities for material enjoyment, for your sense gratification. And you do perform pious acts. And it's not that you don't perform pious acts, but then you perform pious acts, with an intention that you get benefits of you get some benefits. And it's better than being performing sinful activities for sure. But then it's again going to bind you in the cycle of birth and death, and you will not be able to really come out of it. So that's karma kanda. And then as you progress on the spiritual ladder, and as you start developing an attraction, a desire for spiritual, like knowledge, then you go to the rank of sakama karma, and what that means is that you perform your duties, and again, there is a certain aspect of sense gratification, but you are spending more time on the religious activities, and so there is some attachment that you have for the fruits of labor, and there is some aspect of sense enjoyment, but not like the karma kanda. And then you have nishkama karma yoga, where you have reached a state where you're completely you don't have any attachment at all for the fruits of action. And I know, as Krishna says in chapter 2 as well. So that's really a very evolved form, where you have where you're not attached to any of the fruits of your action. There's something even beyond that, and that's what we're going to speak about today. And what is something beyond Nishkama Karma Yoga?
Is it Bhakti Yoga?
Yes, indeed, Shamataji, thank you. So you might think that Nishkama Karma Yoga is the highest, but that's not the highest. The highest is when you offer all your like the fruits of your action, to please the Lord, and when you have this active devotional service, with Krishna, and it can be a very, it's this loving relationship that you have, that you establish with Him. And when you do that, then like it's not it's even better than Nishkama Karma Yoga. So when we look at these rungs of ladder, these rungs, so as we start off a spiritual journey, we typically are in karma kanda, and then we move on to towards bhakti yoga. What Lord Kapila speaks about here in this particular chapter is the sinful activities, which is even below karma kanda. So because you keep hearing references to criminal and like sinful activities. So all of us who are devotees, do not really perform those activities, and at least as best as possible. And we are all like in the higher ranks, and our intention is, of course, to go towards bhakti yoga, because that will take us completely from the cycle of birth and death. So now, with that backdrop, let's actually any questions on that before we move on to the 3 verses today. Okay, so what we'll do is it's 32, 33, 34, and I hope you're able to see my screen. I'll read the Sanskrit, and then I'll request volunteers to read the translation of the puppet. दैवेन सादितं तस्य शमलं निरये पुमान् भुङ्क्ते कुटुम्बशोषस्य ऋतवित्त इवातुरः. So would somebody like to read the translation and the purport for us?
May I please, Prabhuji?
Yes, of course, Mataji.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Thus, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost his wealth. Purport. The example set herein is that the sinful person suffers just like a man who has lost his wealth. The human form of body is achieved by the conditioned soul after many births and is a very valuable asset. Instead of utilizing this life to get liberation, if one uses it simply for the purpose of maintaining his so-called family and therefore performs foolish and unauthorized actions, he is compared to a man who has lost his wealth and who, upon losing it, laments. When wealth is lost, there is no use lamenting, but as long as there is wealth, one has to utilize it properly and thereby gain eternal profit. It may be argued that when a man leaves his money earned by sinful activities, he also leaves his sinful activities here with his money. But it is especially mentioned herein that by superior arrangements, Daivanas prasaditam. Although the man leaves behind him his sinfully earned money, he carries the effect of it. When a man steals some money, if he is caught and agrees to return it, he is not freed from the criminal punishment. By the law of the state, even though he returns the money, he has to undergo the punishment. Similarly, the money earned by a criminal process may be left by the man when dying, but by superior arrangement, he carries with him the effect, and therefore he has to suffer hellish life. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for that wonderful description. So let's explore what Lord Kapila says here. So thus by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen. So the maintainer of kinsmen is like essentially the householder or anyone who's maintaining the family. So it's quite interesting because there is a different description here as compared to to the previous verses. So here the materialist is called as the maintainer of kinsmen, is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who's lost his wealth. So here we are looking at again at fruitive activities, which are sinful activities. So it's not even karma kanda. It's like how a criminal acts. It's who plunders, who loots, who steals, who cheats. So it's really that the demonic qualities like of human nature is what is being described here. And of course in Kali Yuga, like we have we have a propensity of having both the good dog and the bad dog. So there are times when the good dog triumphs, and that's when we're coming closer to the platform where we can come closer to God. And then there are times when we also like get into a bad dog mode as well. So it's always important to really understand like when do we really feel that, and then try to really make those adjustments. For example, if I feel very, very angry, I will not even know what I'm saying sometimes. And that's when I'm in a state of demonic, and that's when I'm most likely to commit a sinful activity. But the moment I step myself and say I have to respond to this, when I'm angry, when I'm going to say something which I'm going to regret later, so I should really stop doing that. So not give any pain to anyone who who's close to us. And then when we start doing that, then we will keep reducing the number of sinful activities that we do. So here what Prabhupada says is that the sinful person suffers just like as a man who's lost his wealth. So we have a valuable asset. For us, the greatest wealth that we can have in this particular lifetime, the greatest wealth that allows us to attend this particular class today and be comfortable and be comfortable in our in our homes, is something that we should feel really fortunate about, because there are many homeless people in this world. There are many people who don't have access to technology. There are many people who don't have the association of devotees. So we are very fortunate, and we are very grateful. So this particular wealth that we have been given is something that we do need to use for to get liberation. And so what Prabhupada says is that if we just use it for maintaining our family, because many of the times when we do all these endeavors, we always say, I want to take care of my wife, I want to take care of my children, and I want to ensure that they have a good quality of life. So there's really nothing wrong in actually going for that. It's only when that becomes excessive that that there are issues, or where you perform foolish and unauthorized action. For example, if and some of that could be if you live beyond your means. So as an example, if you have a very lavish lifestyle, then you end up like buying things like indiscriminately, and then that will then you'll get into debt, and then once you get into debt, then that becomes a vicious cycle. You probably borrow money from somewhere else, and then and then the collectors come and they hound you. So so is it really worth it? So and but what you're doing it because you want to try to give a better life to your children and to your family, but that may not necessarily get you the happiness that you need. And unauthorized, and when you here when you look at unauthorized, you can also say what is not as per the scriptures. So for example, if you are doing some cheating, if you like in business, for example, or if you're like stealing something, or if you just feel like envious towards someone, then all of that is unauthorized. So here if somebody does all of this, then they have lost their wealth. And here the wealth is not necessarily just just material wealth, but it's spiritual wealth, because we are the spirit soul. And when we are doing that, then what we are doing is losing that identity of who we are, losing that opportunity of this human life to be able to make that progress. And what Prabhupada says here is that when that wealth is lost, there is no use lamenting about it. So, which is why it's so much more, it's so much better for us to get into Krishna consciousness sooner than later. So, we hear this in, like in India, that yes, I mean, we start, getting more, like religious and more godly, like after we completed all our activities. But no, that's not really the point here. The point is that we have to start early. So as soon as we are in the human condition, as soon as we have decided that this is not the place we want to be, then we have to just quickly go surrender everything and then fall in the feet of Krishna. And the other thing that Prabhupada says here, which is very, very important, is that when a man leaves his money earned by sinful activities, he also leaves his sinful activities here with the money. So and by a superior arrangement, which is the law of nature, which is governed by by Krishna. Um, Although he leaves his sinfully earned money and he goes, to a different world, he carries the effect of it. So if you have committed an act which is sinful, then you will have to. So that is a karmic, like debt that you have collected, and you have to pay it back. So you can't say that, just because I have, like I've stolen some money and I've returned it. It doesn't mean that, like I escape the punishment. You still get the punishment. So, for example, if someone says, I feel fully repentant, I know I need to give this, but then there is a certain amount of um, effect that is associated with your committing the act. And that's why it's very, very important for us to be very careful about what we do, what actions we do, what words we use, what behaviors we enact. So all that becomes important, because if we don't do that, and if we think, oh yeah, I asked for forgiveness, that's fine. You are asking for forgiveness, which is much better than not regretting at all. But then you still have to suffer hellish life. It may be a little mitigated, but then you still have to suffer. So so why even go to that stage? Why don't we nip the problem at the bud? So, and it all starts with your desire, because your desire is going to give voice to your thoughts, and your thoughts is going to translate into words and actions and behaviors. So instead of that, if you can direct your desire towards serving Krishna, then you are just like resolving like everything, all the other consequences that can happen later on. So that's really on text 33. So any questions or any reflections? We'll also have some time at the end, but I think it's good to also pick something along the way. And any realizations on this, on text 32? Okay, we can come back collectively as well. So text 33. केवलेन ह्यधर्मेण कुटुम्बभरणोत्सुकः याति जीवोऽन्धथा मिस्त्रं charamam tamasapadam. So could I have another devotee to read the translation of the purport?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, Pushpa Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black method certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as Andha Tamishra. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. 3 words in this verse are very significant. Kevalena means only by black methods. Adharmena means unrighteous or irreligious. And Kutumba, Purana, means family maintenance. Maintaining one's family is certainly the duty of a householder, but one should be eager to earn his livelihood by the prescribed method as stated in the scriptures. In Bhagavad Gita, it is described that the Lord has divided the social system into 4 classifications of castes or varnas according to quality and work. Apart from Bhagavad Gita, in every society, a man is known according to his quality and work. For example, when a man's constructing wooden furniture, he is called a carpenter, and a man who works with an anvil and iron is called a blacksmith. Similarly, a man who is engaged in the medical or engineering fields has a particular duty and designation. All these human activities have been divided by the Supreme Lord into 4 varnas, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. In Bhagavad Gita and in other Vedic literatures, the specific duties of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra are mentioned. One should work honestly according to the qualification. He should not earn his livelihood unfairly by means for which he is not qualified. If a Brahman who works as a priest so that he may enlighten his followers with the spiritual way of life is not qualified as a priest, then he is cheating the public. One should not earn by such unfair means. The name is applicable to Kshatriya or to Vaishya. It is especially mentioned that the means of livelihood of those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness must be very fair and uncomplicated. Here it is mentioned that he who earns his livelihood by unfair means, Kevalena, is sent to the darkest hellish region. Otherwise, if one maintains his family by prescribed methods and honest means, there is no objection to one's being a family man. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So this is where the the pendulum shifts a little bit, and if you notice, Prabhupada's purport here is very, very optimistic actually. Because the last like as we saw like reading the previous verses can really make us feel very worried and want to get out of this place. So here Prabhupada offers a solution, and he continues with that in the next verse. So let's look at this one. So therefore a man who's very eager to maintain his family, so there's nothing wrong with with a person being eager to maintain his family and kinsmen. Simply, but if they only resort to black methods, they will go to the darkest region of hell. So you have to follow the right path to fulfill your prescribed duties. So Prabhupada says here that there are a few words here which he wanted to highlight. Kevalena, only by black methods. So we do have um, I've heard, but I've not really had a personal, experience of this. But there are people who, kind of use like black magic and a few other things to, get, to get wealth. So they perform some austerities. They have some like mystic powers, and they perform this magic. So black magic and black methods are never good, because it's really about like inviting all that sinful reaction to yourself. So people still do that, and we have examples of like people like who do black magic, and that can never come to any good, because because it's not prescribed. by religious scriptures. Then Adharmena. So we are talking of karma yoga. So even if you do karma or kanda activities, do it in a righteous way. Do it in a do it as per what the Vedic scriptures say. So Adharmena means that you're not following the scriptures. You're not religious. You're not following a religious route. And so when you see that linking up to Kutumba Bharana, so how do you really take care of your family? You can take your, you definitely do have to take care of your family because that's your prescribed duty as a householder. But then you should be eager to earn your livelihood by the prescribed method. And we know about the Varnashram. And the Varnashram, the Lord has, said that I have divided. I mean, the social caste, the Varnashram is really, is what I have made, and I have done that according to the quality and work. And he also says in the Bhagavad Gita that you should choose your occupation, and according to your, according to which varna you are, and it's better for you to do a less effective job in your in the in the occupation that's according to your nature, and not really take up something else which is not as per your nature. So apart from Bhagavad Gita, we also know that a man is known according to his quality of work. So for example, I'm a consultant. I'm a management consultant. So I might be able to do some, like DIY activities, once in a while at home, etc. But if you really ask me, whether I can construct a wooden furniture, or if you can ask me whether I can, like create a like do all the plumbing activities and do the electrical activities, like I'll be completely a mess. So so we all have a certain occupation that we do. And when when something goes wrong, in our pipes, then we call the plumber. When something, when you want somebody to mow the garden and doing landscape, then you call a gardener and landscapist, etc. So everyone has got a certain role to play. And then and that's how you do your duties. So when you're not doing that, or when you're doing it unfairly, so you should do it honestly according to your qualification. So you can't expect an engineer, for example, to perform a surgical activity, or to give prescriptions to to patients, because obviously that's not what they're qualified for. So he can't do that. And you can't expect a medical a doctor to build a bridge. Because that's a mechanical engineer's occupation. So based on your qualification, and we know all that. So and you should work as honest as possible according to your qualification. And Prabhupada gives an example here. So if a brahmana who works as a priest is not qualified, then he's cheating the public. So it's quite important that whatever occupation you do it according to the qualification that you have. And Prabhupada also mentions here that the means of livelihood of those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness must be very fair and uncomplicated. And this is where Prabhupada speaks about simple living and high thinking. So we don't need to like live in bungalows, mansions. We don't need to have a very, very lavish lifestyle. And uh, because things are because the Lord has given everything to everyone. So there is no a deficit in the resources that people have. And it's only when our wants has becomes only when our needs becomes wants, and our wants become greed, that's when the problem arises, because we want to have much more, and we want to amass and like accumulate. Although we did see that that accumulation is not going to really help you anywhere, because you're not going to carry that with you in your grave. And I think I may have shared this example before. Let's look at the animal kingdom, because there's so much we can learn from the animal kingdom. And one very good example is around accumulation. So if you were to look at say birds, and look at how they eat. So they are so suppose you have like grains, so suppose you offer grains. So what they will do is they will only pick as much of like grains that they want for that particular time, and then they will fly away. So I normally put that, my wife and I, we put garden because we do want like birds to come and just like to the gardens. So we put some grains, and then they come, and then they just eat that bit, and then they go away. And then it's also very interesting because sometimes we have like two or three birds which come, and then the interesting thing is because we are sitting at a place where we can observe, but then they can't see us. So we just are curious to see what they will be doing. So it's quite interesting because they kind of wait for their turn. So when there is another bird who is like pecking into that into the bowl, this the others, they don't like really snatch things from the bird. They give the space to the bird. So once that bird finishes, then the other one comes in, and so on. And we found that really so amazing because like as humans, we are so keen to like be the first in everything. We have become so impatient. We don't just let we want to be the first, and we want to have it all. We can learn so much from the bird, and the bird is not even a human, not even in the human form, and it's not even got a consciousness that is higher than us. But then they're probably leading a simple life much more than us. So he who earns his livelihood. Yeah. So what Prabhupada says here is that if you're trying to advance in Krishna consciousness, the process of your livelihood, must be very fair and uncomplicated. So, um, and it doesn't mean that you can't hold a very high responsibility. You can hold a high responsibility. I mean, you can, be a vice president of a company, or a CEO of a company, or a owner of your business. All that is fine. But the way, you make your life, like to support is that your life should support your Krishna consciousness activities. And when you don't do that, then clearly, something's not right. So, and that's where what's important for devotees is not so much about is to really demonstrate that high thinking, because it's when you demonstrate that high thinking, when you have this more loftier spiritual purpose in your life, then you will find these little things, like not having that much of it, your desire for some of those will really come down, and then you'll start looking at more simple living. So it's quite interesting because I was having this discussion in one of the other sanghas, and we are talking about how um, when we look at simple thinking and simple living and high thinking, how it's important for you to have high thinking, which comes from the knowledge that you acquire and the realization that you get. To be able to lead that simple life, because if you don't think, if you don't have a high thinking, then it might be quite difficult for you to even have simple living. Yeah. So here Prabhupada says, try to keep your life fair and uncomplicated. And then he also says that if you don't do that, if you earn your livelihood by unfair means, that's Kevalena, then you go to the darkest hellish region, which is definitely not the place that we want to be. And this is where the positive thing really comes. If you maintain your family by prescribed methods and honest means, and there is no objection to one's being a family man. So the last like 33 verses, 32 verses was really speaking about, about a materialist who's not performing any activity, who's performing hellish activities, and hence he goes. But then if you maintain your family by prescribed methods, then nothing is then you're in a good place. So with that, we'll come to the last one, and that's adasthanara lokasya yavatiryatanadayah kramasha samanukramya punaratra vrije. Would somebody like to read the translation of the purport?
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Yes, Shipra Mataji, your voice is a little low, so if you can come closer to the mic.
Okay, all right. Having gone through, is that okay, Prabhuji?
It is okay now. Yeah, thank you.
having gone through all the miserable, hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Just a, just a prisoner who has undergone troublesome prison life is set free again. The person who has always engaged in impious and mischievous activities is put into hellish conditions, and when he has undergone different hellish lives, namely those of lower animals like cats, dogs, and hogs, by the gradual process of evolution, he again comes back as a human being. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that even though a person engaged in the practice of the yoga system may not finish perfectly and may fall down for some reason or other, his next life as a human being is guaranteed. It is stated that such a person who has fallen from the path of yoga practice is given a chance in his next life to take birth in a very rich family or in a very pious family. It is interpreted that rich family refers to a big mercantile family, because generally people who engage in trades and mercantile business are very rich. One who engage in the process of self-realization or connecting with the supreme absolute truth but fell short is allowed to take birth in such a rich family, or he is allowed to take birth in the family of pious brahmanas. Either way, he is guaranteed to appear in human society in his next life. It can be conducted that if someone is not willing to enter into hellish life, as in Tamisha or Andha Tamisha, then he must take to the process of Krishna consciousness, which is the first class yoga system. Because even if one is unable to attain complete Krishna consciousness in this life, he is guaranteed at least to take his next birth in a human family. He cannot be sent into a hellish condition. Krishna consciousness is the purest life and is protects all human beings from gliding down to hell to take birth in a family of dogs or hogs. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third canto, 13th chapter, 30th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Purative Activities. Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
for the
Krishna.
opportunity.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Srila Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So now, looking at this one, now this I found so optimistic, because we have been it has been a difficult, like reading of the last all the verses, and this one, completely changes all of that. And let's see why so. So uh, let's quickly go here. So once you've been purged of all your sins, of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being. So you go through all that hellish, miserable conditions in order, and of course, our aim is to try to minimize, like all those reasons that gives us that the need to have those hellish go through those hellish conditions. So having been purged of your sins, you can be reborn again as a human being. So now here Prabhupada says that once you have undergone the troublesome prison life, which is equivalent of the hellish situation, then you can actually come back. Like after you've been through all the process of the lower animals like dog, hogs, then by the gradual process of evolution, you come back again as a human being. And what is really very what's really very good about this is that you may not finish this perfectly, and you may fall down for some reason, but your next life as a human is guaranteed. And this is really a very guarantee is a very strong word. And when Prabhupada uses this, this means that the fact that we are devotees, the fact that we are practicing bhakti yoga, uh, itself is sufficient, because we may not finish it perfectly, and we may also fall down because we are in this in this world of Maya, which so there are days when the good hog the good dog triumphs, and then there are days when the bad dog triumphs. So even if you do fall down for some reason, you can be rest assured, it's guaranteed that your next life as a human being is guaranteed. And when you follow this, it also means that what it typically means is that, and this is what Krishna also says in chapter 18. So you would be part of an aristocratic family, or you'll be in a pious family. And when you do that, then you create more opportunities for you to continue with your Krishna conscious journey. So you're not starting your Krishna conscious journey here. You're not started in this lifetime. You started the fact that you're here, the fact that we are listening to this Bhagavatam class. We are trying to understand what Lord Kapila is saying. All means that it's not by choice. It's not serendipity, or it's not random. It's happening because Krishna has allowed us to be here. And what that really means is that we have His mercy, and we have His mercy to be able to really come together. And what we do need to do now is to try to make the most of that, and try to say, how can we really apply the teachings of Lord Kapila, whatever he says in this chapter, and even others, to our lives. And it doesn't matter whether we are like a perfect devotee, I mean a pure devotee, may not, because we all have still a lot of impurities in our life, in our heart. So what we are really trying to do right now is to go through a cleansing process that will help us come closer to Krishna. And I know that many of you did say that nobody's willing to enter into a hellish life. So what we must do is to take the process of Krishna consciousness, and it doesn't matter if you're unable to attain complete Krishna consciousness in this life. You are guaranteed, to at least take it in the next birth, where you continue to progress on your Krishna conscious journey. And Krishna consciousness is the purest life, and it protects all human beings from gliding down to hell to take birth in a family of dogs or hogs, which is what our desire is. So that's quite an if you were to look at the last verse, it really is a good antidote to everything that we've been hearing. So yes, we have to be aware of what sinful activities can cause, and we had those graphic descriptions. And it may be a matter of worriness if we it's definitely a matter of worriness if we are coming closer to that, and if you're performing those activities. But if you're not doing that, then our focus, from an energy perspective, is less about worrying about what happens, and more about saying, what can I do to please Krishna? What can I really do to embrace Krishna consciousness? What can I really do to to perform devotional service? And then you'll find your answers there. So why focus on the negative things when you can focus on something which is more positive, and then you can channelize all your energies towards getting that. So, in essence, what Lord Kapila is saying in this chapter is he's speaking about the he's speaking about the materialist and the journey that they go through, and how they have this misguided conception of taking care of of maintaining their kinsmen through being attracted to their partner, to their children, to the wealth, to the everywhere. And he's thinking that he's doing it for all the right reasons because he's doing his prescribed duties. But if he's not doing it as per the prescribed duties, and if he's not doing it honestly, if he's doing it as per Kevala, which is using black methods, then he's definitely on the wrong path, and that can only take him to the road to helldom. And there is an antidote for that. And if we don't want to find ourselves in like in that particular path, then we embrace Krishna consciousness. And what we do is we try to follow the karma rangs that we spoke about. So we could somewhere be doing karma kanda, then sakarma, that's where we evolve to. And then nishkama karma yoga is where we start looking at renouncing the fruits of action. However, for us, the more higher form, as Shamataji also mentioned, is bhakti yoga. So that's really that's what is our true desire. And with that, we conclude today. So I just wanted to check if there are any questions, any reflections on what we just covered today. Anything
Hare
at all?
Krishna,
Indilekha
Prabhuji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for nice explaining. And yes, we see that the last verse gives us some kind of hope that even if we don't complete our spiritual journey, we have to come back. But then there is another danger here. Coming back, he says, in an aristocratic family in Kali Yuga, aristocratic people are very proud of that. And then they fall down again. So if we get the knowledge properly and we try to do our best, I don't say that we are all on the same level, but surely not me on the lowest level. So we can try at this, because now we're getting the knowledge, right? So we put it into use and then we do the best not to come back. Because as I said, there is danger. Why waiting for the danger, right? Another thing is we have to pray to the Lord. Whatever, wherever you decide to send me, please do send me. But one thing, always keep me in your service.
Yeah,
that should be our thought, right? And when you were talking about the Varnashrama system, I was thinking about the cobbler and the Brahmana. The cobbler, he was ready to go to back home, back to Godhead, whereas the Brahmana, he had to wait for 100 lifetimes. He was a Brahmana, but he was puffed up. Whereas the cobbler, he was very, very down to earth. That's why this is another point that we should work toward. We should not say that I am senior devotees, I have got the upper hand, I can do anything, I can manipulate the situation. No, we are all equal. We should think about that. Let's give everybody the opportunity, right? That should be our endeavor, that should be our thought, that should be our behavior. So not to come back again or not to glide down. Thank you, Prabhuji, so much. I really enjoyed your class today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. And I also reflected, Mataji, based on what you mentioned, sometimes we have a lot of self-doubt because, when you speak to devotees, they'll say, you know what, I'm a neophyte, like I have not really, I'm not, I'm not practicing all these, like Krishna conscious activities. And many of them, they feel a lot of self-doubt about that. It's quite important that we as devotees who are like embarking on the path of bhakti yoga, we must also realize that a lot of our Krishna conscious the spark, the seed of bhakti in our heart doesn't really start from this lifetime. It starts from a previous lifetime, but we don't really know what's the progress that we have made, which is why sometimes you can see that there are devotees who come to Krishna consciousness, and then they feel that this is their home, and then they connect so easily. and then there are those who take many, many years to come. And so we should probably not be too hard on ourselves, but really try to do as much as possible within our capacity. And then of course, have association, choose the right association, and then also like aspire for a spiritual master if that's what your spiritual journey is going to take towards, because the spiritual master will help you to stay the path. He will inspire you even more, and so that you don't fall into that hellish situation.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. In all my classes, I put emphasis on taking a spiritual master.
I'm speaking for you, Mataji.
Thank you. But yeah, I need to find a spiritual master. But Prabhuji, also, it depends on our sukriti. When we have enough sukriti, enough pious credit, then we will take it seriously. Then it will happen. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Shri Kushari Mataji, can I invite you to do the Vaishnava prayers?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Dear devotees, let's all put our hands together. Let's say this Vaishnava prayer very sincerely to their lordships. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories, all glories, all glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
bol, Hari
Hare
bol,
Krishna.
Prabhuji
Hari
ki jai.
bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.